Hello again. Hi everyone. Lara Ryan here from Complete Test Success. And today's live stream is for IELTS Writing Task 2. So just in case you're new to my channel, what we do in these live streams is I will give you a Task 2 question. I'll share a Task 2 question with you here on the screen. And then we will go through each part of the essay. So we'll start with the first part, the paraphrase. I'll get you to paraphrase the question. I'll look at your paraphrase. You'll share it with me in the comments, and then I'll look at your paraphrase and I'll give you suggestions on things you need to do to improve, which of course will bring up your IELTS scores. So basically, this whole lesson is focused on your work and mistakes you're making and to help you avoid repeating any of those mistakes again. That's pretty much what we are doing. Hi, Khalil from Bangladesh. Excellent. Welcome to the lesson. Great to see you here. Okay, so that's pretty much how the lesson works. Hi, Manuel. And our first task is going to be this, write the paraphrase. So let me share the question with you here. Okay, so the question says, in some places, shops are open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So we need to paraphrase that part of the question. So just in case you're not familiar, what we're talking about is this part of the question here. You rewrite that in your own words, share it with me in the comments, and I will have some feedback for you. And what I'll do is I will take one of your paraphrases, I'll add it to the document that I'm sharing here, and we will construct our task 2 essay together on the screen. English with Babli. Hello, welcome. Hi, Karan from Australia. Very good. Welcome to the lesson, Karan. Hi, Sabin. Good to see you here again. Razmia, hello to you and welcome. Kyrie, welcome to the lesson, Kyrie. I believe you're new here. Good to have you with us. Canon from PNG. Hi, Canon. I believe you're new as well. Welcome to the lesson. So those of you who've joined me before, you'll understand, just write the paraphrase, share it in the comments. So those of you who are new, please go ahead. Good man, welcome. Istayak, very good, welcome from Bangladesh as well. Hi, Gopi, welcome to the lesson. Hi, Cynthia. Good to have you here. Remember to reply to that email, Cynthia. I was talking to you about that already. From Bangladesh. Great. Copy. English asks, how many words can we use with task 1? It says the minimum of 150, but you should aim for about 180. Hi, Aretha. Hi, Rajwinder. Okay, so we have our first paraphrase from Rasmia. Lovely. So the lesson has begun. Shops are open round the clock, whole week in some places. So you got some grammar mistakes. So where are you? You're on Facebook. I'm going to take your... Let me take your paraphrase here. Okay, so this is Rasmia's paraphrase, and we're going to add this to the screen. So I can just paste this in here. So spelling mistake, shops. And then when we're saying in some places, we're not describing the whole week, we're describing shops. So shops in some places needs to go here. Shops in some places are open round the clock. That's it, really. Round the clock is a little bit informal, actually. So do you know what? Just because this is informal, I'm not going to use it. So that's how you would correct your grammar mistakes there. But I'll find another paraphrase to use instead, just because that one I don't like the informal language. So we'll just find one without the informal language to use instead. Okay, A.R. Rabi. In some states, local markets and shops operate all day and night, and there are no weekends in a week. No weekends. So the weekend would still be Saturday and Sunday. So it's not that there are no weekends. It's that they're also open at weekends. So the weekend doesn't specifically mean 2 days off. It means Saturday and Sunday. So that doesn't apply here. But the rest of it looks very good. Tariq, hello to you and welcome. Hi, Alan. Welcome back. In some locations, stores are open for the entire day and week. The entire day and week isn't actually as clear as it needs to be. So yes, like it's definitely a paraphrase, and I can understand what you mean, but it's not as clear as we would want it to be. Hi, Domenico. What have I been doing? Working. You'll get the same answer from me any time of the week, to be honest. I work a lot. Sabine, there are certain locations where stores remain operational for 24 hours every day of the week without any breaks. Okay, I like this one. So I'm going to take Sabine's and I'm going to copy that. Okay. So that was Sabine. Now I'm going to go with there are certain places rather than certain locations. It's more accurate. Where stores remain operational for 24 hours every day of the week without, let's say, without ever closing. Now, there we go. So that's our paraphrase. And with that, I'm happy to move on to the next part of the lesson. Some of you have already shared paraphrases with me. So if you've already shared a paraphrase, I will look at that. I'm not going to ignore you, but let's just see what we're doing next. So after we have written our paraphrase, we're going to have to write our main ideas. This question's a little bit different. Normally we're asked, do you agree or disagree, or is it positive or negative? But this is more open. Do you think this is good for society? So the easiest response is going to be either, yes, I think it's good for society because, and we'll give 2 reasons, or no, I don't think it's good for society, and we'll give 2 reasons. Of course, we could potentially go, I think it's a little bit good and a little bit bad, but it gets more complicated. And what you have to remember is you need to have, what it says in the band descriptors is a clear position throughout the essay. So position meaning opinion. So you need to have a clear position, a clear opinion throughout your essay. So it is technically okay to say I partially agree, but what happens then is if it gets a little bit confusing where you're trying to say you do and you don't agree at the same time, it can be quite easy to make a mistake and get a low band score for task achievement. Whereas you don't really have that problem when you just say, I think it's good. It's very clear. Or I think it's bad. That's very clear. So you're better to go on either side. As we've looked at with previous questions, like, do you think it's a positive or a negative situation? Do you agree or disagree? So we're going to follow the same format. So what I want from you then is what main ideas can we use? So if you're going to say you think it's good for society, I want 2 reasons why you think it's good. Or if you're going to say you think it's not good for society, I need 2 reasons why you think it's not good. So that's the next stage of our lesson. Please share your ideas in the comments, and I'll go back through any other comments here that I haven't looked at yet. Domenico, a bit late, not much at all. You haven't missed much at all, to be honest, Domenico. Parampreet, say hello to Pardeep. Oh, hello, Pardeep. Okay. Sohal, sir, I'm from Punjab. Lovely. Good to have you here, Sohal. Hi, Ramalia. It is socially beneficial to have shops opened non-stop. Is it socially beneficial? We wouldn't ask a question like that. So that type of question, that rhetorical question like that, is suitable for presentations, but not suitable for an academic essay. So we wouldn't ask a question, even though it makes sense and it is a paraphrase and it does deliver the kind of the topic. It's not suitable. So just paraphrase the question statement like this without turning it into a question, because that's just not suitable. Shops, hi B Winkle. Shops are open throughout the entire week, not even closing once in a day in many regions. I think because when you put in many regions next to in a day, it's not as clear as putting in many regions at the start as we're looking at in the question up here. So, saying in many regions, stores remain operational, but I think putting it at the start just makes it that little bit clearer than where you've put it here. And Babli, if I have less than 150 words, and what I can do, is there any problem when we use less words? Well, the problem is you haven't written enough to get a good task achievement score. So the problem is your task achievement score will not be good if you have not developed your ideas. So yeah, the problem is that you won't be able to cover everything you need to cover if you haven't written enough words. Domenico, by the way, I'll contact you by email later. Perfect. Good. Thanks, Domenico. Karan, shops in some locations are open every day of the week, including Sundays. Good. So you've only included part of the information here, Karan. And what's really important when you're paraphrasing the question is that you include everything. So you've given me this. In some places, shops are open 7 days a week. So this part, about 24 hours a day, is missing from your paraphrase. So you will need to include all the information. So whatever it says in the question, try to say the exact same thing in your paraphrase. Change the language, but not the meaning. Hi, Sharon. Ashwinder, nowadays outlets are being opened day and night during the whole week. When you say being opened, that means that, like when they're open for the very first time. So, if I open up a shop, the first day that I open up and let customers come in, that would be when I'm opening the shop in the way that you're describing it. That shops are being opened means that, they're being established. So the way you've described it is actually inaccurate because of the language error. Hi, Salik. Nowadays, many shopping complexes, it doesn't say shopping complexes. So a shopping complex would be a building with many shops. But this is just saying shops, the actual shops themselves. So again, we don't want to change the meaning. Are available for customers. That's not a suitable collocation. To say that a shop is open and a shop is available for a customer, it doesn't have the same meaning. The whole day and night in several places. The word several means a few. So when we think of several places, I would think, like maybe about 10 different places. But the question is more vague than that. So the word some doesn't really say a few or several. It doesn't mean a small number. It just means, not everywhere, but there are places where this happens. Is opening shops in few places every day of week good for society? So this is kind of similar to what we saw with Ramalia's answer earlier on, where you're trying to turn it into a question, and that's not suitable. So write it as a sentence rather than a question. Shopping malls in a portion of sites remain open each day. Again, the vocab in this here, Aretha, doesn't accurately describe. So shopping malls is different from shops. A portion of sites doesn't make me think some places. So it's changed. You've changed the language, but you've also changed the meaning. We need the meaning to be the same. So same meaning, different language. And if you've changed the meaning, you haven't written an appropriate paraphrase at the moment. And then remain open each day. That makes it sound like there are some shops that are closing and there are some shops that are still open. So it doesn't really give me a sense that these shops never close at any hour of the day or any day of the week. So you're not really communicating the same information. And the problem here, Aretha, is you're giving too much emphasis to changing every word. So you think it's more important to change every word, but it's actually more important to have the same meaning and to make it clear to the reader what you're saying. So being clear and having the same meaning, those are the first most important things. After that would be changing the vocabulary. Khalil, in many places, shops are open whole hours in a day, 7 days in a week. So some grammar mistakes, but yep, that's good. Hi, Sohal. Some marts, there would be shops, Emmanuel, we wouldn't say marts, runs their shops. So some shops stay open for 24 hours and are also open for 7 days, and we need to be 7 days a week. That you need to clarify that. Okay, this lesson started 15 minutes ago, and I'm still looking at the paraphrase. And what I'm worried about is that we're not going to cover very much if I continue looking at paraphrases. So I'm gonna push on a little bit, and we're going to start looking at the ideas. So if I haven't talked about your paraphrase yet, please just continue forward so that we can start to look at the ideas. Kushal, can you make a video about vocabulary? I don't really feel like teaching individual words is a very good strategy, because the words that you know, I don't know what words you know. So let's say if I'm trying to make a lesson for Kushal and Gagan here, you will know different words. I don't know which words you do know. I don't know which words you don't know. So for me to teach you vocabulary, it's easy to teach vocabulary to a student who's got a low level of English, like a beginner level student, because, okay, they know no words. Okay, great. Like I know what words to teach them. But as students get stronger and stronger and stronger, they need to take more control of their own vocabulary learning, because if they're relying on teachers, the teacher doesn't know what words they need next. The teacher doesn't know what words they already know. So I don't see that really as been the best way of teaching a student. Like I have lessons about how to study vocabulary and how to improve your vocabulary. So I think teaching strategies about improving vocab makes sense. But if I choose 10 words to teach you and you know 8 of them already, then you've wasted a lot of your time and I've wasted a lot of my time. So I don't think that's the best. I think for higher level students, they need to be independent when it comes to vocab, to learning vocab. Okay, so it might be good of society because of pharmacy and supermarkets. So Karan, at the moment, this idea is too vague. So you're saying it's good because of pharmacy. Now, I don't know why you think it's good because of pharmacies. So what about pharmacies? Why is that good? I don't know. So you have to tell me more specifically what about this is good. And the same with supermarkets. So now you've named 2 types of shop, but I don't see why that is an advantage. So try and give me a more specific idea. Okay, so like I said, I'm just going to stop. I'm just going to start skipping the paraphrases I haven't looked at and start looking at ideas. Okay, Rajwinder, I opine it is not appropriate as overwork may harm the health of workers, as well as it will be bad effect on family relationships. So we're not talking about people overworking. So we're not saying that it's one person working 24 hours a day. We're saying that the shop is open 24 hours a day. So, there could be 3 different 8-hour shifts. So nobody's working more than 8 hours. There's nothing in this question that would indicate people are overworking. Now, of course, there are people who would be working at nighttime. So if you want to talk about people working late, that's fine. But you can't talk about people overworking, because that would assume that, somebody's working 12 hours a day or more, something like that. And there's nothing in this question to suggest that that is what we're talking about. So essentially, you've changed the topic. In this, your ideas are irrelevant because you're not, well, sorry, the idea about overworking is irrelevant because it's not about the question. And then you said it may have some bad effects on family relationships. That does seem relevant. That seems appropriate. I can imagine how you would develop that. Okay, so that's going to be one idea. Let me write that down because I need 2 ideas before I can add it to the screen. So family. Okay. Gopi says, one advantage is people can shop every day when they want. Yeah, absolutely. It is good for society. B. Winkle, it is good for society as it will generate employment for the people, and people will have access to buy the produce at any time. Okay, perfect. Let's go with that. So we have 2 ideas. Whether we say it's positive or negative doesn't really matter as long as we have 2 relevant ideas. Okay, so that's B. Winkle. Now I'm going to have to make it clearer that this is my opinion, because the question has said, do you think? So it's very clearly said, do you think it is good for society? So in my response to that, I'm going to say, I think, let's change the vocab. I believe it is good for society as it will generate employment. We don't say generate employment for the people. I mean, generate employment. We know it's going to be for people. And people will have access. So we're not saying will. We're not talking about something that is going to happen in the future. This is now. They are open. Okay. So let's say just for a bit more variety, let's say customers have, because it's not in the future, access to, a bit more complicated. Let's just say, instead of, sometimes the easier way to describe something, the easier way to say something is the best, because it's easier for the reader. So I think we see this a lot really in the IELTS test, is people, when they're writing, they're trying to focus on, like, how can I get a high score? How can I say this in a more complicated way that will seem more impressive and that will get me a higher score? Like, we get this a lot. And very often that approach to writing makes it less clear. It reduces the clarity. So very often a better piece of writing might seem more simple, but the fact that it's simple makes it easier to understand. So what I would say is, like, with something like this, people have access to buy the produce. We'll say the customers can buy the produce, and that's very clear. It's accurate. You're still using modals, which is part of complex structures. People can buy the products at any time. Produce would be limited to, like, produce would be more like meat, vegetables, fruits, that type of thing would be produce. So we'll just change that to products. And that there is our introduction. We've paraphrased the question, we've said what we think, and we've included 2 ideas. Okay, awesome. Okay. So that brings us to the next part of the lesson, where we're going to develop one of these ideas. Okay, so we're going to have to focus on one. Let's take the first idea. It's good for society as it will generate employment. Okay, it will generate employment. Perfect. So I'm just going to highlight that so that you know what I'm referring to. I've highlighted the idea. So in the instructions down here, I've said, how can we develop this idea being the one that I've highlighted. So it doesn't matter what ideas you shared with me in your comments. As this is a lesson, I want all of us to focus on this same point so that we can all learn more effectively. If you're all showing me different ideas and different development, it'll be harder to learn from each other's mistakes. So from this point forward in the lesson, how are we going to develop this idea? And that's going to be our next body paragraph. How are we going to describe how are we going to explain and how are we going to exemplify this idea? Okay. I believe it is good for communities as it ensures the customers go shopping flexible. So the language isn't accurate. So you'll need to work on your vocab and your grammar, but the idea is okay. So it gives people more flexibility. As well as that, Jatinder, we need 2 ideas. So make sure that you include 2 rather than just 1. So Sabine is going with both positive and negative effects. You're making this more complicated. Like I said, it can be done. It can be done. You can write an essay where you have this opinion. So the IELTS test doesn't say you can't say that. But I'm saying you shouldn't say that because it's just easier to make mistakes. So it's difficult to make a definitive judgment. Oh, well, then straight away, you're going to get a low score for task achievement. So let me just see here. Okay, band 4 presents a position, but this is unclear. So band 4 for task achievement presents a position, that means opinion. So presents an opinion, but this is unclear. So what's your opinion? Your opinion is you don't know. So if you don't know what your opinion is, for sure, the reader doesn't know what your opinion is. So that's not the approach to take, Sabine. You're going to end up with band 4 for task achievement with that approach. And there's your second idea. Yep. I wouldn't go with indigenous people. I would just say local people would be more accurate, Jatinder. But yes, so you have 2 ideas. They're both appropriate. So when it comes to task achievement and coherence and task achievement, you're doing what you need to do, but you will need to work on your vocabulary and your grammar, Jatinder. Tariq says, I agree with this notion because people can buy things anytime, whenever they want, and shops sales will be higher. So the spelling of sales is wrong. So shops sales are higher is the language you need. Okay, but yeah, your ideas are good. So well done there. On the one hand, it can be easy for people who work unconventional hours or have busy schedules to be able to access essential goods at any time. Yeah, good. Good. It can provide job opportunities. Good. The constant availability of goods and services can lead to overconsumption. So all of these ideas are appropriate, Sabine, but you're making your answer too complicated. Just go with, I think it's good and here are 2 reasons, or I think it's not good and here are 2 reasons. I can promise you, you're going to make your life a lot easier and it's going to be much easier to get a higher score. Hi, Solwyn, welcome to the lesson. So at the moment, like I said earlier, I'm just kind of skipping over the paraphrases. I want to focus more on the rest of the essay for the rest of this lesson. Okay, so Domenico says, this can lead to a negative impact of an increase in consumerism. Okay. But I believe it is beneficial for society as individuals. Many people normally have to deal with packed schedules which prevent them from shopping during regular. So it's a bit wordy. Just say, it's beneficial for people with busy schedules and just keep it simple like that. Okay, so we saw that already. So Mamadou has written a thesis statement for the introduction, and this is just kind of a general. You can do this. This is acceptable, but it's not as good for your coherence and cohesion score, especially like the whole idea of coherence and cohesion. So coherence is about understanding. So can people understand what you've said? And cohesion is kind of like how everything connects together. So from sentence to sentence, like, does this idea lead to the next idea? Are the ideas kind of connected from sentence to sentence? Are the paragraphs connecting to each other? Like, you know, when you say on one hand, on the other hand, you're showing the relationship between between the paragraphs. So that's what cohesion is the way that you make connections between everything that you say. Now, what you've written here, this essay will discuss how this trend is beneficial as it provides more flexibly and creates more job opportunities. Is nothing like I said it was. I didn't read it properly. I'm sorry. I thought it was like a generic thing where it said, I'm going to discuss why it's good for society without mentioning the main ideas. So I went on a big tangent, and your outline statement doesn't do what I thought it did. So actually, this is very good. So my apologies for my little rant. No, this is perfect. So it provides flexibility. Good. That's a specific, relevant idea. It creates job opportunities. Again, that's relevant and specific. So yeah, very good. As it is a likelihood, it's good for society. Shops open 24/7. Sometimes we need stuff that we not remember is done, but if shops are open for people to feel more. This is overly complicated. So all you want to say, Ryan, is just say it's easier to buy things that we forgot to get, or it's easy to buy things when we need them urgently, something like that. It's a bit overly complicated. Okay, so again, we're 30 minutes into the lesson. So like I said previously, it's time to just move on so that we can kind of see more of the essay and learn more from what to do in each part. So I'm not going to look at any more main ideas. What I'm going to look at for the next part of the lesson is simply how can we develop the idea that it will generate employment. So I need an explanation. How can that happen? How can shops being open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week generate employment? Oh, and I actually have a mistake with the grammar. Not it will generate employment. It generates employment. So my apologies. I missed that. Okay. So I'm just looking for ideas, and I'm just looking for development of that. Okay, so Sabin is responding. Sabin says, keeping shops open 24/7 can create job opportunities. Okay, it creates more jobs as businesses need to hire more staff to cover longer hours. Good. So they have longer hours, they're open more, they need more people. So that makes sense. But in this part, you're after going off topic. Additionally, it can provide part-time work for those who cannot work full-time. Well, why can it why would it provide part-time work? Like why, if what we need to know is why they have more employment, not about why it would create part-time jobs, just in general. So whether we're talking about more part-time jobs or more full-time jobs, that doesn't really matter. What we need to know is how can these extra hours, how can all of these shops that are open 24 hours a day, how can that create more employment? So when you go talking about part-time, full-time, that's not relevant. And then the extended operating hours can also create new businesses and industries, leading to job creation in areas such as food service and transportation. However, it is important to ensure that workers are treated fairly and compensated appropriately for working outside regular business hours. Like, again, like, we need to treat them fairly. There's nobody suggesting, there's nothing in the question that suggests they're not being treated fairly. And that's a different issue. Whether shops are open 8 hours a day or open 24 hours a day, the question isn't about whether we treat the staff fairly or not. I mean, just because a shop is open 8 hours a day doesn't mean the staff is being treated fairly. Just because it's open 24 hours a day doesn't mean that they're not being treated fairly. So you're going off topic with this. And then this thing you said about it creates new businesses and industries, this is too vague because I don't see how it does that. You haven't explained to me how that happens. So again, that's too vague. So really the only development that's appropriate is this first thing that you've said, and then everything else you're talking about other aspects, but aspects that aren't relevant. Writing, in my opinion, will be redundant because the next segment in my thesis line says it is good for society, implying I agree. But we don't need to imply anything. We need to say what we want to say. And if the question specifically says, do you think, you need to say what you think. So make it clear that you're responding directly to the question, B. Winkle. When a store continues operating without closing, it will require more staff to work in shift basis. As a result, more employment opportunities are created and people get hired to operate the store. Okay, so that's a good start. But remember, our paragraph is going to be about 100 words long. We need about 100 words of development. So, yep, that's suitable, but we need more. It has been seen that local shops that remain open for 24 hours a day create new employment for local people. Indeed, for working in local street market, it requires at least 3 shifts of 8 hours. Okay, good. Shops which operate 7 days a week can create job opportunities for local people. As we know, these shops have to hire more people as they are open for more days. Good. You'll need to go into more detail than that, but yeah, good. It benefits community members. Okay, so we're going off topic here again. So Amandeep, since a person can effectively work more than 8 hours a day, after that he needs rest. So I'd say since a person cannot, I think you meant to write cannot. And then it would be they need rest because the person might be male or female. So in order to make stores available throughout the day, there's a need for multiple workers for the same position. Excellent. Yep. Again, not long enough, but good. Opening stores all day means more jobs. This is because employers will need more managers, workers, and cleaning workers for the smooth running of the premises. They will have to recruit more staff to make the ends meet, thereby creating work for the individuals. You're kind of repeating yourself here, B. Winkle. So you're saying it'll create more jobs, and then you're saying the type of jobs it will create, and then you're saying they will need more jobs. They will need more staff to do the job. So essentially, those 3 sentences have the same information. So we don't need to know what type of workers they have. It's relevant, actually. That's okay. But what we need to know, essentially, it's this. We've looked at a few of them already, and it seems like you're not really making the comparison. But we're saying there will be more employment. It generates employment. So compared to what? So what essentially we're doing is we're talking about shops that open 8 hours a day versus shops that open 24 hours a day. So we're trying to compare these 2 shops and saying that, well, this one creates more work than this one. So in your description, in your explanation, what's going to be easiest is to start off by saying a conventional shop only opens 8 hours a day. And if they need 3 people to operate the shop for 8 hours, compared to a shop that runs 24 hours a day, they will only have They're only creating 1/3 of the employment that these other shops are creating. So what you want to do is you're trying to say, how is this one more than this one? But at the moment, you're just you're not making the comparison, so you have less to talk about. So for most, in a lot, in fact, not all, but for most IELTS Task 2 questions, you're comparing something. You're comparing the past with the present. You're comparing some change. You're comparing, shops that are open 24 hours a day with ones that aren't. Because if you're saying it generates employment, it's generating more employment than shops that open up 8 hours a day. That's essentially what we're saying. So go into that comparison in more detail in your paraphrase, in your paragraph, and that's how you can develop your idea. For example, there are some businesses in our area which want to extend their business hours. And to do this, they're recruiting more people. Okay, so I like this example. So let me take that. Obviously, we're kind of putting the cart before the horse here by putting an example in before our explanation, but I just want to take it while we have it. Okay, so that's definitely useful for us, not to begin the paragraph, but to end it. So for example, there are some businesses in my area which want to extend their business hours, but before they can do this, they need to hire additional staff and are currently recruiting for people. So that could perfectly be our example, but of course we need to state our main idea and we need an explanation. Okay, so let's build up on this. So we're going to have topic sentence. Reason why shops close. Create additional employment opportunities. No, additional employment in comparison to the other shops that only operate for 8 hours each day. All right, so we're missing an explanation. We need an explanation for this paragraph. So we're not finished yet, but we have our topic sentence, we have our example. So I know this is not, I'm not recommending that you write an essay in this format, like the example and then the topic sentence and then the explanation. We're going in complete reverse order, but I just liked this example, so I wanted to pull it out before I lose it later on. Okay, so Amandeep has changed can to cannot, so that makes sense. Okay, so let's go with Amandeep's here. Okay. So let's add that in for our explanation. Okay. Since a person cannot effectively work for more than 8 hours a day, they need to be given time off to rest. Okay. So in order to make stores available, so in order to allow stores to stay open throughout the day, there is a need for multiple workers in the same positions to cover each 8-hour shift. And then we have our example. Okay, that might even be a little bit long. 114, it's okay, not too long. All right, so that's our first body paragraph. Oh, excuse me, I had Amandeep's comment up there. So that would be our first paragraph responding to the first idea. So I don't think we're going to have time to write the second paragraph or the conclusion, but what we can do is just take a look at your ideas for this. So for this idea here, I'd like you to tell me, how can we develop this idea? Customers can buy the products at any time. We only have 15 minutes left in the lesson, so I'm just going to try to get through the comments that I haven't looked at already, and then we'll finish up there. All right, Asif, if shops open 24 hours a day and 7 days a week, then there will be more shifts. For that, they need more people to operate. As a result, both students and unemployed people get a chance to work. Okay. I would focus more on unemployed people, because we're trying to say it creates more employment. Whether they're students or not wouldn't really be relevant. To open 24 hours a day, shops need to maintain 2 or 3 shifts to operate, which they need to recruit more employees. Good. Hi as well. On the one hand, okay, so we're not going to have on one hand, on the other hand, because we're only showing ideas why we believe it's good. So if it was like two views, if we were like, on one hand, some people think it's good, on the other hand, some people think it's bad. But in this essay, there will be no situation where on one hand and on the other hand is appropriate. So you can't use that. Having shops open all day long can be advantageous for society. Firstly, it can provide more employment opportunities for people who need to work outside of standard working hours. Good. Firstly, it allows more shifts and schedules, which can create more jobs for workers who are available to work outside of standard business hours. Okay. And Abdul, another benefit for these kinds of shops is that they are providing convenience for their customers. Nowadays, a lot of people are working at the weekends as well. Okay, so that's obviously you haven't finished. Oh, here we are. As a result, their days off are often at the week, are often in the weekdays, are often during the week, are often on weekdays. Shops with 7 days availability can serve these people's needs. We would expect the shops to be open on weekdays already. So I don't think that's relevant. It would be more like the unusual days, like the weekends, or the unusual hours, like, in the middle of the night or the early morning. For instance, some of my friends are doctors and they cannot enjoy their weekends at home. They always do their shopping from these kinds of shops. Okay. Additionally, 24-hour stores may require more workers to handle tasks such as restocking and cleaning during off hours, but there aren't any off hours. They're always open. So that's not appropriate. This can create more jobs for workers who may be able to work during the day but cannot work during the night or early morning. I think the other way around, wouldn't it? It can create more jobs for people who may not be able to work Oh, but sorry, I'm getting confused. This is perfect. Yeah, perfect. Good job. However, shops that are open 24 hours every day will need more shop assistants because few workers cannot work for the entire day. Good. Secondly, it allows people to purchase goods at any time that is convenient for them, which is especially important for those who work long hours or have other responsibilities. Good. Okay, we're starting to get some very accurate, relevant ideas here. This is good. Shops open around the clock can put a strain on workers who are expected to work longer hours or overnight shifts. This can impact their health and well-being. Can't we say this in writing task 2? I would say you can say about working overnight shifts. Nobody said that the staff are working longer hours. There's nothing in the question that would indicate the staff have to work longer hours because the shop is opened longer. But definitely overnight shifts. Like the shop can't stay open 24 hours a day without the shop being open at nighttime. So that definitely, we have that information. But people working longer hours, that's not suitable because there's nothing in the question to say that. You know, if it said in some places shops are open 24 hours a day and require their staff to work 12-hour shifts, then you could use the first idea. But the question doesn't have that information. So you can't just, make that assumption about what's happening in these shops. For example, parents who cannot shop during the day because they are looking after their children can do their shopping late at night. Excellent. Yep. I think it is essential for a maximum number of people, and in some places, people doing night duty as well as the world market always open. Moreover, we need more important things such as medicine necessary. Too complicated at the moment as well. You'll need to focus in on one idea. So you're kind of, you're talking about many things rather than just focusing on the one idea that you want to discuss. So that's not appropriate. You need to be able to focus on one idea, and you're not doing that at the moment. Okay. Audio Fiction Joe, welcome. Good to see you here. Shops that open for 24 hours a day require a large pool of manpower. With 8 hours, will require to hire the additional staff members to rotate shift. This will create a lot of jobs for the unemployed. A lot of vocab and grammar mistakes in this, Audio Fiction Joe. Quite a few mistakes with grammar and vocab, plural mistakes, unemployment instead of the unemployed. Like, just, there are quite a few errors. I can understand what you're saying, but I have to work it out, and that's not ideal. Podam, when shops operate day and night throughout the week, it creates employment since long hours will demand the work runs the shift system, and which means a lot of workers will be needed. This part where you've said long hours, okay, will demand that work runs the shift system. That part is unclear. So the vocabulary you've used there doesn't accurately communicate what you want to communicate. B. Winkle, conventional shops only open for 8 hours a day, so fewer people are required to run these facilities. However, when shops are open for the whole day, employers will need more people to run the shops. Thus, they will have to recruit more people, creating job opportunities for the individuals, or just creating job opportunities. Good. Yes, very good. Okay, we won't look at a conclusion. We're not going to get to that part of the essay today. There will always be people who are more accustomed to the night life, so they will need supplies, for example, students studying late or people working extra shifts. Okay, good. So we're moving on to the customers can buy the products at any time. So Audio Fiction Joe has brought us on to the next idea. Good. Okay, I have a few comments. Oh, I'm nearly at the end. Oh, I didn't think I was going to make it. Okay. Facebook user, when shops are open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, customers can physically visit the store at any time to make a purchase. This provides customers with the convenience of being able to shop at any time that suits them, even if it's outside traditional business hours. You're kind of going in circles here. So basically what you're saying is people can buy products at any time. So the main idea is people can buy products at any time. Now, in the first one, you're saying essentially, if we boil it down, the first sentence basically means people can buy products at any time. People can, what was the main idea? People can buy the products at any time. So people can buy stuff from the shop at any time. Then the next sentence is they are able to buy the products at any time. Yeah, so really you're just repeating the idea. The first sentence is fine, but in the second sentence, you need to explain why these shops being open 24 hours a day allow customers to buy products at any time. I know it's super obvious. I mean, like, who in the world wouldn't be able to figure out that a shop being open 24 hours a day allows customers to buy products at any time? I mean, it's very obvious. But regardless of how obvious it is, your responsibility in your essay is to explain to the reader how it happens. So you have to connect those two things. Shops open 24 hours a day. People can buy stuff anytime. How does this create this? So, I mean, it's incredibly obvious, but still that's what you need to say in your answer. Okay, I have 3 more comments and then I'm going to finish it up after that. Amandeep, another advantage of shops with 24 operational hours is availability of products at any time. As some individuals are working throughout the week, that is why they do not have time to go for grocery on working hours of stores. This helps them to buy these items at their convenient time. Good. People can buy things anytime when they want. This is because shops will remain open throughout 24 hours and customers will have no fear that shops will be closed sooner or later. Therefore, they can easily purchase goods when they have free time. Good. Muhammad, is it an opinion essay? Yep, absolutely. That's exactly what it is. It's an opinion essay. Yep, 100%. Okay, I made it to the end somehow. Surprisingly, I didn't think I was going to get through all the comments. But the reason that I was able to get through so many comments at the end is that they were all, or in fact, most of them were relevant, which of course makes it a lot faster to respond to. I have not shared with you my free life feedback lessons yet. So take a look. I have a link here. You can click on that link, sign up for my free life feedback lessons there. Those are my group classes on Zoom. So you'll find the link there in the comment, or you can click on the video description and you will find the same link there. Besides that, if any of you need one-on-one support, reach out to me here, lara@completetestsuccess.com. Having said that, I am quite busy at the moment, so I don't really have the capacity to help many people. But if anybody needs one-on-one support, reach out to me and we can talk about that. Yeah, so that's it. I'll have another lesson next week. We'll talk to you then. And I have that free life feedback lesson tomorrow, so I'll talk to you there. Okay, take care of yourselves. Bye for now, everybody.